Today is Friday, July 24th, 2026, and I am here with Benjamin. And we are going to talk about the first identity he created after football had ended.
Chapter 4: The Cage. In December of 2018, I was 17 with nothing left to tell me who I was. So something in my unconscious mind started looking. My brain was working in the background, sorting through what was left of my life, because I didn't know who I was just as Benjamin Miller, and I wasn't ready to ask that question of myself. Wasn't ready to sit with the silence of not having an answer. In my academic life, I could not perform at the level I used to. I'd missed the whole first semester of my junior year. I wasn't applying myself the way I had before. Video games was my way to relax and escape pre-stroke, but since I'd lost control and use over my right hand, I couldn't play at the level I used to. My athletic life. The gym and weight room had been part of my life since second grade. Extra work on the field. Then the weight room in 6th and 7th grade. Conditioning, strength, building toward Division I football. That was familiar grounding. That was something I knew how to do. So in January of 2019, I decided to pour myself into the gym and wellness community. I could take it to the extremes that I did with football. I had the blueprint, I had the years of experience. All I needed was the same intensity. The routine began. Wake up before school, straight to the gym, cardio, swimming, biking, or walking on an incline. Come back home, classes from 8 to 12, at lunch the first meal of the day, classes until 3, back to the gym for a lift, evening workout, come home, dinner, sleep, repeat. Being a human doing up to this point, this continuous action, continuous movement felt right. It felt like me. It felt like what I was supposed to be doing at this point in my life. The schedule had something inside it I didn't recognize yet. The first meal of the day wasn't until lunch, and breakfast had been skipped. I thought that was being healthy. The wellness community said fasting was healthy. I believed it. Every single day from January through June of my senior year, the routine was the identity. The schedule was the certainty. I was building something measurable, something I could control, something that would tell me who I was if I just followed the structure hard enough. Through February and March, and by April, the rigidity had set in. I couldn't imagine a day off. Couldn't imagine eating breakfast. Couldn't imagine skipping a workout. But that rigidity didn't register as a warning. It registered as discipline. That's what we're taught. Never miss a workout, never miss a rep, never miss a meal, never miss a day. Show up no matter what, push through. I'd been raised on that message my whole life as an athlete, and now I was applying it harder than I ever had, which made me feel like I was doing the right thing. But for where my body actually was, it was the wrong thing. 16 months post-stroke, still rebuilding neural pathways, still relearning how to move. The rigidity wasn't healing me, it was locking the wrong patterns in deeper and deeper. My body needed slower, gentler, more patient work. What I gave it was faster, harder, more, because the rigidity felt like the answer. The gym became the place where I made sense, or that's what it was supposed to be. In reality, I'd walk in already frustrated. My right side wasn't working the way I wanted it to. The arm couldn't relax, the leg wouldn't fire the way the left one did. But I'd been raised on a simple equation: more reps, more weight, more time under the bar. If you do more, your body responds. If the frustration is there, work harder until it fades. So I worked harder. More reps, more time, more weight. And the tighter my right side became, the less it worked, the more the frustration built. The gym wasn't the answer, it was the wrong tool applied harder. Which is why the alcohol was still there. Friday nights, Saturday nights, almost every weekend through the spring of my senior year. The relief I needed wasn't from being a student coach anymore. That role was over. The relief was from trying to be this new version of Benjamin, the health and wellness figure, the one who had it together, the one who was not fazed by anything. The harder I worked at being him during the week, the more I needed to disappear from him on the weekends. The pattern that had started the previous fall was still running, just attached to a new mask. In May of 2019, it was graduation time for us seniors. It is supposed to be a time of celebration, of joy, of taking the next step in life. For me, that next step was college, but as I heard my name called, Benjamin Miller, and walked across that stage, I felt nothing. Worse than nothing, I felt empty. I was just doing what was expected of me. As the months went on, the rigidity tightened, the eating window shrank. 16 hours of fasting and 8 hours of eating became 18 hours of fasting and 6 hours of eating. The first meal moved from noon to 2 in the afternoon. Smaller window. More restriction. More control. I read that as progress. By the time I packed to leave for Northwestern in August, the schedule had become so solid, so certain, that I couldn't imagine a day without it. The gym, the structure, the measurable progress, the body changing in ways I could see and control. I was 18. I had spent the past 8 months building an identity out of discipline and routine and the belief that if I just worked hard enough, measured enough, optimized enough, I would not only finally know who I was, I would be recovering from my stroke. Pushing harder, pushing harder, pushing harder. And right before I left for Northwestern, I made one more decision in service of that identity. I stopped drinking. The relief valve I'd been using for a year. Friday nights, Saturday nights, blackout drunk to take the mask off, I closed it because the health and wellness version of Benjamin didn't drink, couldn't drink, didn't need to. He was the disciplined one. The routine was supposed to be enough. I left for Northwestern at the beginning of August in the best physical shape of my life. Lean, strong. Looking at myself from the outside, I had never looked better. But the better I looked externally, the more empty I felt internally. And I didn't know I was building a cage, and I told myself I'd close the valve, but I had already built a second one. The pressure found another way out. It had been finding it for months in the shrinking eating window, in the rigidity I called discipline. I didn't stop the thing. I just gave it a new place to go, in a healthier looking cage.